A new consumer report just dropped, and it is bad news for some of the biggest names in motorcycling. These 7 Japanese bikes are failing early, costing riders thousands in repairs and resale. If you plan to buy in 2025, you need to see this list first. Number 7. Yamaha R3. It is one of the most commonly recommended starter motorcycles on the market, praised for its ease of use, lightweight construction, and forgiving power band. The Yamaha R3 shows up on countless beginner lists, riding school fleets, and dealership floors as a go-to entry into the world of sport bikes. But once it passes the 5,000-mile mark, a different story begins to unfold. Riders across forums and consumer reports are sounding the alarm. This bike may not be built to last. Beneath its sleek, race-inspired design lies a series of mechanical and structural compromises that emerge with regular use. What once felt exciting and nimble starts to feel brittle and worn out, with some owners saying it becomes more of a project than a ride. At the heart of the R3 is a 321 cubic centimeter parallel twin engine that produces 42 horsepower and 21 pound-feet of torque. This compact motor is paired to a 6-speed transmission and has a reputation for being peppy when it works properly. The problems start showing up earlier than expected, usually right after the 5,000-mile mark. Riders report significant valve train noise, premature clutch wear, and inconsistent throttle response. Some even mention stalling under low-speed loads, a sign of fueling issues or misaligned throttle position sensors. While these might seem like minor hiccups, they're signs of underlying reliability concerns that become expensive over time. The suspension setup includes a non-adjustable telescopic fork in the front and a preload adjustable rear monoshock. While this soft setup works for casual commuting, it struggles on rough pavement. Fork seals are known to leak early, with owners frequently reporting oil seepage and reduced damping before the bike hits 7,000 miles. The brakes consist of a single 298-inch disc up front and a 220-inch disc in the rear, paired with anti-lock braking system as standard. Braking performance is adequate at best, with many riders calling the front lever feel vague and the rear brake underwhelming. The R3's lightweight chassis, tipping the scales at just 375 pounds wet, does make it easy to maneuver, but this lack of mass comes at the cost of highway stability, especially during crosswinds or while passing trucks. Fit and finish issues also start to become noticeable after just a few riding seasons. Plastic fairings, which look great on the showroom floor, begin to rattle loose and fade from UV exposure. The tank panels are prone to warping under heat, and some riders have reported cracks near the bolt mounts. The chain stretch problem is another common complaint. Owners have noted that the factory chain begins to wear prematurely, requiring frequent adjustment and eventual replacement far earlier than anticipated. In many cases, this also leads to irregular wear on the rear sprocket and cush drive rubbers, adding unexpected maintenance costs. With a starting price of $5,499, the R3 seems like a bargain at first glance. But when riders are spending hundreds on repairs and upgrades just to keep it performing well after 5,000 miles, the value proposition starts to crumble. This bike may open the door to motorcycling, but it rarely stays in the garage for long. If you thought the R3 had problems, the next bike costs way more, and somehow lasts even less. We've done the hard work of digging into the data for you. If this info was useful, drop a like, comment your thoughts, and subscribe for more detailed research. Number 6. Kawasaki Vulcan S. It is the kind of cruiser that seems tailor-made for everyone. A sporty profile, a manageable size, and a reputation for being accessible to riders of all experience levels. On paper, the Vulcan S appears to offer the best of both worlds, the laid-back ergonomics of a cruiser with the agility and responsiveness of a standard motorcycle. It is compact, confident, and delivers a modern aesthetic that breaks away from traditional cruiser styling. Yet despite all these attractive features, thousands of owners have begun sounding the alarm just past the 5,000-mile mark. At the core of the Vulcan S is a 649 cubic centimeter parallel twin engine producing 60 horsepower and 46 pound-feet of torque. The motorcycle weighs 498 pounds wet and includes a 6-speed transmission that is tuned for smooth power delivery. Braking duties are handled by a single 300mm disc in the front with dual piston calipers and a single rear disc at 250mm with a single piston setup. setup. The suspension system includes a conventional telescopic front fork and an offset rear shock with adjustable preload, which sounds good on paper but quickly becomes a weak point under real-world conditions. Once the odometer crosses 5,000 miles, the Vulcan S begins to reveal its long-term shortcomings. The most common complaint involves warped brake rotors that result in pulsating feedback during stops. These are not isolated cases. Dealers and forums alike are full of reports from riders needing to replace rotors far sooner than expected. In addition to braking issues, owners consistently mention soft clutch springs that weaken prematurely. Clutch engagement becomes vague and shifting loses precision. Vibration is another growing concern, especially for riders who use the Vulcan S for highway commuting. Around 65 miles per hour, the smoothness promised by Kawasaki's engineers begins to break down. Vibrations from the engine travel through the foot pegs and handlebars, leading to hand numbness and general discomfort after only a few exits on the freeway. The issue becomes worse under heavy throttle or headwinds, where the parallel twin seems to work harder than it should for the performance it delivers. Even more frustrating for owners is the rise in electrical gremlins as mileage increases. Several riders have documented ECU sensor failures that trigger check engine lights and throw the bike into limp mode. Diagnosing and fixing the issue is not always straightforward, and parts availability has become a talking point in Vulcan S user communities. Sensors tied to emissions and throttle position are particularly prone to malfunction, leading to expensive trips back to the dealership and extended time off the road. On top of all that, rust has proven to be a recurring enemy. The exhaust system, especially around the welds and collector joints, tends to corrode easily even with average exposure to the elements. Riders who store their bikes outdoors or ride in humid or coastal environments report spotting oxidation in under a year. Once that rust sets in, it becomes more than a cosmetic problem. It starts to threaten the structure of the system, which could result in leaks or exhaust tone degradation over time. As of mid-2025, the Kawasaki Vulcan S starts at approximately $8,399, with ABS-equipped versions typically costing a few $100 more. If you thought a cruiser was built to go the distance, wait until you see the adventure bike that could not even finish the trip. If you're planning to ride this season, don't risk it with junk gear. We've listed proven jackets, gloves, and helmets in the description. Gear that holds up when your bike doesn't. Number 5. Suzuki V-Strom 650. For years, this machine was considered one of the most reliable and versatile adventure motorcycles you could buy. Riders praised it for its all-purpose design, smooth engine, and predictable handling. It earned a reputation as the kind of bike you could ride across the country without a second thought. That's exactly why the recent model year decline has hit so hard. Owners who trusted the V-Strom brand are now discovering the latest version of this midsize bike is anything but bulletproof. Mechanical issues start appearing earlier than expected, sometimes just after 5,000 miles, and they are not isolated problems. These are consistent failures across rider forums, shop reports, and mechanic logs. The illusion of indestructibility is officially broken. At the heart of the V-Strom 650 is a 645 cubic centimeter V-twin engine producing 70 horsepower and 46 pound-feet of torque. It uses a liquid cooling system, electronic fuel injection, and a 6-speed transmission. On paper, that looks solid. The bike weighs 476 pounds fully fueled, and it rides on telescopic front forks with coil spring oil damping and a link-type rear suspension with 7-step adjustable preload. For braking, it features dual disc brakes at the front and a single disc at the rear with standard anti-lock braking system. With a base price of $9,104, this bike should deliver a refined and balanced riding experience. Instead, it's leaving many riders stranded. One of the most common complaints hitting the new model is a premature fuel pump failure. Riders have reported bikes stalling without warning, especially under throttle. Mechanics point to a design flaw where debris collects in the fuel pump housing, eventually choking fuel delivery altogether. The solution? A costly replacement, often not covered by warranty once the bike is past its initial coverage. That's followed by oil seepage issues along the front fork, even under normal riding conditions. Fork seals appear to degrade faster than they should, and when that happens, riders are forced to to replace suspension components long before their expected service interval. Electrical problems are also becoming a recurring theme. More and more owners are posting about wiring corrosion, flickering dashboard lights, and intermittent ABS failure lights. In some cases, the anti-lock braking system disengages mid-ride, creating a potential safety hazard. The culprit seems to be poor weatherproofing around the connectors, especially near the fuse box and under-seat harness. If you're riding through wet or humid conditions, expect problems to show up sooner rather than later. These electrical gremlins don't just ruin the ride, they create nagging doubts about the machine's overall longevity. Then there's the resale situation. As problems become more widely reported, secondhand buyers are becoming wary. Listings for the 650 sit longer on dealer lots and used marketplaces, and private sellers often have to discount heavily to get attention. That high initial trust in the V-Strom name is no longer enough to move unit. You'd expect this kind of failure on a cheap scooter, not a mid-size V-Strom, but the next bike on the list pretends to be premium and brakes even faster. Number 4. Honda CB1000R. It was supposed to be Honda's premium naked street fighter, the kind of machine you park and turn around to admire. Sharp lines, minimalist bodywork, and just enough tech to hint at high-end performance without going full superbike. Riders were drawn to the CB1000R for its understated aggression and its blend of retro-modern style. But behind all that styling, something didn't quite hold together, because right around the 5,000-mile mark, more and more owners started noticing a pattern of breakdowns, glitches, and frustrating compromises that don't belong on a bike with a price tag near $13,000. At the heart of the CB1000R is a 998 cubic centimeter inline 4-cylinder engine. It produces 143 horsepower and 77 pound-feet of torque, giving it plenty of muscle for quick acceleration and spirited backroad riding. That engine is paired with a fully adjustable 41-inch Showa inverted front fork and a rear monoshock that allows preload and rebound tuning. The braking system includes dual 310-inch front discs with radial-mounted 4-piston calipers and a single 256-inch disc at the rear, all backed by a standard anti-lock braking system. Wet weight comes in at 472 pounds, giving the bike a middleweight feel with big bike power. On paper, it looks perfect, but real-world riding reveals the flaws. Owners have repeatedly flagged vague throttle response at low speeds. Especially in urban settings or tight, twisty roads, the throttle feels disconnected, making smooth power delivery almost impossible in stop-and-go traffic. This is compounded by the tall gearing, which forces riders to feather the clutch constantly below 4,000 revolutions per minute. In practice, the CB1000R feels like it was tuned for open roads only, and it punishes you for trying to ride it through town. Even once you're out on the highway, things don't get much better. Being a naked bike, wind protection is already limited, but the minimal fly screen offers almost no deflection, and above 65 miles per hour, the wind blast becomes relentless. Add to that a stiff seat with thin padding and a somewhat upright riding position that feels more like a compromise than a commitment, and you've got a recipe for fatigue. Riders have reported backaches and sore wrists after only an hour of highway time. What was marketed as a versatile street machine ends up being a tough sell for long-distance riders. Heat management is another major concern. The inline-4 engine generates noticeable warmth during extended low-speed riding, especially in summer conditions or heavy traffic. The heat seems to funnel up around the tank and seat area, creating real discomfort for riders in warmer climates. For something priced at $12,999, you expect engineering that works with you, not against you. Then there's the tech package. On the spec sheet, it looks respectable. A full-color TFT display, selectable ride modes, and Honda's standard traction control system. But the display is plagued by visibility issues in direct sunlight and frequent screen lag. Some riders even report brief blank-out glitches when toggling between ride modes. The quick shifter, which should be a major asset, feels clunky during low-speed gear changes and frequently misfires when downshifting under load. From premium headaches to budget nightmares, this next entry proves you don't always get what you pay for. Number 3. Kawasaki Z400. This is the kind of bike that turns heads with its price tag and keeps new riders optimistic about the road ahead. It is lightweight, aggressive-looking, and surprisingly fun at first. Kawasaki positioned the Z400 as a low-barrier entry into the world of sport riding, and on paper it seems like a deal. However, once the odometer passes 5,000 miles, a very different story starts to unfold. That budget price begins to show its limits, not just in cosmetic shortcuts, but in real mechanical and reliability concerns that take riders by surprise. At the core of the Z400 is a 399 cubic centimeter parallel twin engine producing 48 horsepower and 28 pound-feet of torque. It weighs approximately 363 pounds fully fueled. The suspension consists of a non-adjustable telescopic fork up front and a bottom-link unitrack gas-charged shock in the rear, with preload adjustability. Braking duties are handled by a single 310 disc in the front and a 220 disc in the rear, both assisted by a standard anti-lock braking system. With a starting price of $5,599, it looks like a solid beginner package until you dig into what starts failing. One of the most consistent complaints that shows up in owner reports and recent consumer surveys is the onset of premature valve noise after just a few thousand miles. The valves on this motor seem to drift out of spec faster than expected, leading to excessive ticking, reduced performance, and costly maintenance bills. Clutch cables also stretch quickly, resulting in vague engagement and occasional missed shifts. Owners also report ignition coil failures that leave them stranded without warning, an unacceptable fault on a modern machine built for dependability. The Z400 also begins to feel physically different the more it is ridden. The suspension, which is serviceable out of the crate, starts to deteriorate as the miles add up. The front forks begin to dive noticeably under braking, and the rear shock loses composure on uneven surfaces, especially when cornering or under moderate load. Even the factory tires, designed more for price than performance, wear unevenly and contribute to a vague, disconnected feeling at higher speeds. Buzzing at high revolutions per minute becomes another long-term annoyance. Riders consistently report that vibrations work their way through the bars and mirrors, eventually causing hand fatigue and distorted rear-view visibility. There is also growing concern over the Z400's electronics. Riders have noted flickering instrument clusters and inconsistent idle behavior tied to electronic control unit mapping errors. Error codes appear intermittently without explanation, and some units have experienced a complete loss of dash readouts mid-ride. This kind of instability in the bike's core systems causes understandable anxiety, especially among new riders who purchase the bike for confidence and ease of use. While the initial ownership experience of the Z400 is often described as enjoyable, that feeling quickly erodes. Maintenance intervals come faster than expected. The bike's rough edge, initially charming, starts to feel like a burden. Owners who intended to keep the bike for several seasons often find themselves upgrading or trading out within a year, frustrated by the time and cost involved in keeping the Z400 running at its best. If you thought this bike was disappointing, the next bike might break your heart and your wallet. Number 2. Yamaha MT-07. It is one of the most recognized naked motorcycles in the world, especially among riders who want something lightweight, torquey, and affordable. With its aggressive street fighter looks and no-nonsense reputation, it has remained a bestseller across dealerships for years. Many riders praise it as the perfect middleweight for both commuting and weekend fun. However, a recently released consumer reliability report has revealed a very different story, especially after the first 5,000 miles. Beneath the popularity lies a growing number of complaints that are turning this fan favorite into a long-term liability. Under the tank, the MT-07 is powered by a 689 cubic centimeter parallel twin engine. This compact and efficient unit delivers 74 horsepower and 67 pound-feet of torque, giving it solid low-end pull and a fun-to-ride character. At just 406 pounds wet, the bike is light and flickable, which contributes to its urban agility and playful riding feel. The front suspension consists of non-adjustable telescopic forks, while the rear uses a link-type monoshock with preload adjustability. Braking is managed by dual 282-inch discs at the front, with 4 piston calipers and a single 245-inch disc in the rear. An anti-lock braking system is included as standard. On paper, those numbers seem just right for a dependable everyday motorcycle, but that assumption begins to unravel as the miles add up. Owners report that the engine mount bolts are prone to to loosening before reaching 5,000 miles, sometimes causing minor misalignment and vibration. Worse still, clutch cable failures have become a known issue, with some snapping completely during basic city commutes. For a motorcycle that is advertised as being built for everyday use, these are not minor hiccups. They are safety concerns that affect rideability. Another frequent complaint involves the rear suspension. Riders describe a noticeable sag over time, which not only impacts comfort but also compromises cornering stability. Combined with soft front forks that dive under hard braking, the MT-07 begins to feel increasingly unstable. Especially when carrying a passenger or heavier load, the suspension components struggle to maintain composure, causing unpredictable feedback in turns and under throttle. This soft, underdamped setup quickly becomes a sore point for riders who originally chose the bike for its dynamic feel. The switchgear and control layout, while functional, has also come under scrutiny. Numerous users report sticky buttons, flimsy housing, and even occasional electrical shorting when riding in wet weather. These may seem like small issues on their own, but together they add up to a motorcycle that feels more budget-built than its reputation suggests. Riders who expected the MT-07 to age gracefully are often surprised by how quickly these issues begin to surface. While Yamaha has addressed some of these concerns over the years, the consistency of these failures in the current model year raises questions about long-term reliability. All of this comes with a starting price of $8,399. For that amount, riders expect more than just speed. They want dependability, comfort, and a machine that can handle years of use without breaking down. Unfortunately, the MT-07 is developing a reputation for delivering only the first part of that promise. Make sure you're making the right bike choice. Like, comment, and subscribe for more crucial insights. You will want to stick around for what's next, because the #1 bike on this list is a legend that absolutely no one expected to fail this hard. Number 1. Honda Rebel 500. It is one of the most popular entry-level cruisers in the entire motorcycle world, a favorite for riders just getting started, returning after a long break, or simply looking for something low, light, and manageable. At first glance, it seems like the perfect introduction to the open road: laid-back ergonomics, minimalist design, and a gentle learning curve. But for many owners, the illusion only lasts a few thousand miles. Beneath the surface, the Rebel 500 is quietly racking up complaints that reveal a much deeper problem: reliability that falters far earlier than expected. At the core of the Rebel is a 471 cubic centimeter liquid-cooled parallel twin engine, producing 45 horsepower and 32 pound-feet of torque power. Delivery is smooth at low speeds, but tends to run out of breath when pushed on highways or loaded down with gear. The lightweight frame keeps the overall weight down to just 416 pounds when fully fueled, which makes it easy to maneuver in tight city conditions or low-speed parking lots. Suspension is handled by conventional 41-inch front forks and twin rear shock absorbers, both of which are soft and non-adjustable. Braking is handled by a single 296-inch front disc and a 240-inch rear disc, with anti-lock braking system included as standard. The problems begin to surface just after the break-in period. By the 5,000-mile mark, riders have reported a growing list of mechanical issues that seem out of place for a bike in this price range. The most serious concerns include fuel pump failures, which often lead to stalling during acceleration or difficulty starting after longer rides. In several cases, owners have traced these problems to poor internal wiring, with service technicians pointing to inadequate insulation or corrosion at key connectors. Charging system failures are also alarmingly common, with battery drains occurring even after short rides. Some riders have had to replace regulators and stators within the first year of ownership, a repair that can cost hundreds of dollars even when caught early. Then there's the more alarming engine behavior. Multiple reports highlight strange ticking or knocking noises developing around the camshaft area, sometimes just beyond the 5,000-mile mark. In the most extreme cases, these noises were later diagnosed as early wear on the camshaft journals, an issue that can permanently damage the engine if not repaired in time. This kind of wear is not just inconvenient, it casts serious doubt on the long-term durability of the platform. At a starting price of $6,499, the Rebel 500 offers great value up front. But as these issues pile up, that initial affordability is offset by increasing maintenance costs and lost time on the road. What begins as an easy entry into riding can become a frustrating series of repairs that no beginner wants to face. Your next bike might be closer than you think, but make sure you know the full story before making that choice. Drop a comment with your thoughts, hit the like button if you found this list helpful, and subscribe for more trustworthy, research-backed motorcycle reviews.